The question is, when developing the practice instructions and steps for the connection practice, how did you arrive at these particular four qualities of kindness? I agree with wishing for happiness, safety, health, and ease, but I'm just curious as to how these were selected and whether there were other qualities that you considered but did not end up including in these final four. So I'm really glad this question is asked because the connection practice, which also goes by the name the loving kindness practice, has been around for an enormously long time. And I certainly did not develop the practice or come up with those terms. I have personally practiced loving kindness or connection for decades and can speak to its efficacy from my own experience, and I've certainly shared it as I'm sharing it with you all. But those terms and the practice has been around for a very long time. I will say this, though, because I appreciate the question, because somebody came up with those terms. And so it's an interesting question of how they were come up with. First of all, I think the ways that the practice, also known as a meta practice, if we were to draw upon a certain wisdom tradition, is structured is actually different. So you'll find different versions of it. Safe, happy, healthy. I mean, these tend to be fundamental qualities or states that we, all human beings and beings for that matter, wish for ourselves and those we care about, and perhaps even those that we don't know. But so that's probably why they were arrived at and persist in various forms. But you'll find connection and loving kindness practices that have different variations, and our work with the military. We'll reframe it to may you be healthy and strong. May you be safe and secure and protected. We'll modify the language so it carries the essence, but it is in a way that is a little bit more responsive to the group that it's being shared with. And I would imagine that that's how it has evolved over time. So it's a good question. I'm glad it was asked, both because it speaks to the fact that while I may share with you all metaphors and certain ways of considering things that have been part of my own evolved understanding and creative perhaps or useful ways of sharing it, fundamentally what is being shared has been around for a very long time, has made its way in and out of various secular traditions, contemplative practices, spiritual practices, scientifically researched practices, and in many ways what's core or kernel to many of these different practices have found their way into these practices that we share, which are part of the scientific research that I and colleagues have been doing for a good while. So, did not make them up, but they're pretty good. So they've lasted. And in another video segment, I comment on how it is that you can also feel free to and should tweak any of these if they don't resonate with you, or if there's another that does, in the spirit of a heart-opening practice of wishing well for oneself and others. Nice question.